Militarism before World War I was the belief that nations should have a strong military and that force was an acceptable solution to their problems. This led to European nations building up their militaries, which increased tensions between them. Britain felt threatened by Germany because the Kaiser of Germany wanted to build a fleet that rivaled Great Britain's. The naval race started between the two nations when Great Britain built its first dreadnought. These were huge ships powered by steam turbines and equipped with heavy firepower, and it rendered all other ships inferior. By 1914, Great Britain had built 29 and Germany had built 17. Repeated attempts for arms control solutions were met with no success, and diplomatic relations between Great Britain and Germany deteriorated due to the naval race.
While Britain and Germany were competing for naval power, Germany was also competing in an arms race with France. After the Franco-Prussian War, France gave a portion of their land to Prussia. Then, a part of Prussia and the surrounding kingdoms unified into what is now Germany in 1871. As a result, France developed great distrust in Germany due to their powerful military and how large the country was. As a result, France started growing their military size and expenditures. By 1914, France had over 4 million soldiers, and Germany, on the other hand, had over 4.5 million soldiers.
France, Britain, and Germany weren't the only countries feeling the pressure of the ongoing arms race. Austria-Hungary started increasing the size of their army after the Balkan Wars, and Russia, already having the largest peacetime army, increased their military spending, which also increased the size of their army and weaponry. We also see the beginnings of a lot of modern weaponry leading up to World War I, starting with barbed wire in 1874, the Maxim gun in 1884, high explosive shells in 1885, and the level rifle in 1886, which is the first military firearm to use smokeless powder ammunition. In 1906, we see the dreadnought and the first U-boat. In 1910, we get the Mine and Werfer, which is a short-range mortar. In 1912, we have Big Bertha, which is one of the largest military pieces to ever see battle. We also get the Vickers machine gun. Just started prior to the war, in 1913, we get mustard gas. And then in 1915, we have Fokker Eindecker, which is the first German fighter aircraft. And in 1916, the British created the Mark I tank, which is the first tank to ever enter combat.
World War I was known as the Machine Gun War due to the first effective machine gun being used. It was built in 1884 by Hiram Maxim. Precursor to the machine gun was the Gatling gun, but Maxim wanted a gun that could harness the recoil power of each bullet with a force strong enough to eject used cartridges and draw in next ones. His machine gun could fire 500 rounds per minute, which is equivalent to the firepower of around 100 rifles. Due to having such a powerful gun, the British Army adapted this weapon in 1889, and due to the gun's destructive abilities, this called for trench warfare. How war was conducted worldwide, it was dramatically changed as prior cavalry and frontal infantry was more vulnerable to machine guns. Due to the power and destruction caused by the machine guns, soldiers were forced to dig trenches deep enough for soldiers to stand, sacrificing mobility in order to gain protection. They reached their highest development on the Belgian coast through northeastern France all the way to Switzerland. They dug their trenches in a zigzag format so the enemy couldn't fire more than a few inches down to the trench. Front lines of trenches were held by machine guns and entangled within barbed wire. Germans were known as having the most intricate defense systems regarding trenches.
As tensions were rising between nations, many steps were taken to attempt to slow down the advancements in military tech. Tsar Nicholas II initiated the First Hague Conference in 1889, and President Theodore Roosevelt called for the Second Hague Conference in 1904, although it was postponed due to the Russo-Japanese War and was held finally in 1907. Both conferences negotiated disarmaments, laws of war, and war crimes. While the first conference failed at negotiating disarmaments, it succeeded in its other goals, in prohibiting the use of asphyxiating gases, expanding bullets, and discharges of projectiles and explosives from balloons. The adoption of the Convention for the Pacific Settlement of International Disputes, creating the Permanent Court of Arbitration, is the most important thing to come from the First Hague Conference. The second conference also failed at disarmament, but it did establish conventions regulating the collection of debts, rules of war, and the rights and obligations of neutral parties in regards to war.
Militarism led to World War I because it increased the tension between nations. Each nation feared what the other was developing as the focus on military might increased. The belief that war was imminent left no room for negotiations on limiting military size and spending.